How do you do it? And as I said, you guys are involved in difficult conversations every single day. There's probably not a day that goes by that you're not telling somebody within your area of responsibility, no. There's probably not a day that goes by that you're not telling somebody something that they don't want to hear. And so how are you going to manage that the next time it happens? When you get off of this call, some of you probably have a conversation lined up just like that, where you're going to have to share with an employee, a direct report, something that's going to ruin their day. It can be something as significant as they're being terminated, or it could be something as mild as you're moving the water cooler from one side of the office to the other. I guarantee you somebody's going to have a problem with you moving the water cooler. So how do you get out in front of that? How do you soften the blow? How do you take the edge off of that? With the accusations audit. This is where you proactively address the negative emotions and dynamics as the other side sees. There is an irrefutable need for you to address negative emotions and dynamics in a proactive fashion. That is before they're ever spoken by your employee. What do you need them to do? You need them to execute on something. To execute, they're going to need to be cognitively nimble. In other words, you need to make them smarter. How do you make them smarter? By addressing the negative dynamics and emotions before they're spoken. I talked earlier about the amygdala. Anytime that you're in those conversations where I want or I need, or in anybody's head, that amygdala is going to fire up, you need to clear out that junk. You need to clear out those negative emotions and dynamics so that they can just be smarter. Your brain works 31% better when you're in a positive frame of mind. So put them in a positive frame of mind. Negative emotions never go away. Negative dynamics never go away. Ignoring them is not a strategy. Pretending that they're not there is not a strategy. Trying to explain them away is not a strategy. Hang a label on them and get rid of them, because unexpressed emotions and feelings, dynamics never die. Those negative emotions and dynamics are the single biggest driver of human decision-making and behavior. Negative emotions, negative dynamics, the single biggest driver of decision-making and behavior. So we know from trial and error that labeling negative emotions diffuses them. So anytime you're in one of those difficult conversations and you're going to lower the boom on somebody, or you're going to announce change that's going to cause a problem with somebody, diffuse it by labeling it. Go into that conversation with a list of all the negative opinions, assumptions, and impressions that your employees may say, harbor, or think about you, about the company, and about the circumstance. Whether they are insane or sane, fair or unfair, it does not matter, because it's their perspective that we're more focused on, not our own. And so before you go when you have time to prep, before you go into those difficult conversations, think to yourself, if I were them, what would I be thinking about me and this message, and what is their perception of the company? And when we say, I have all in red letters there for a reason. We will instruct you as coaches to go all in on these accusations audits, because if you do not, the ones that you fail to put on the list are the ones that are going to provide fuel for the pushback at the end, or is going to provide fuel for less than stellar performance when it comes to execution. Brandon, you're back online. Did you want to jump in at all?
I think that sounds good. I mean, the only thing I would emphasize is the going all the way in. I mean, it feels like, especially when you're not familiar with the accusations audit skill, for you personally executing, it can feel like you're throwing yourself under the bus. Or even for some people, it feels like you're conceding to the other person's point of view and you're bending your own position in order to do so. That's what it feels like for you. The receiver, the person you're doing the accusations audit on, what it feels like to them is you have an in-depth understanding of what the world looks like to them, which instantly makes you more credible. It makes you easier to respect, and it makes it easier to collaborate with you and actually listen to what you have to say. You know, a lot of our survey results are, how do I get my people to listen better, right? People are not listening to what I have to say and they're not executing because they didn't listen. A lot of that starts with being able to accurately describe their world, no matter how crazy and convoluted and weird it may seem. It doesn't change the fact that that's what their world looks like, right? If they're seeing cats and dogs falling out of the sky, and they're seeing disrespect and unfairness and not being given a fair shake, and you know the world has got their thumb on them and they've been dealt a bad hand, none of that might be true from your point of view. Again, it doesn't change what they think. And so going all the way in with the accusations audit, I can't emphasize that enough. So that's the only thing that I would add in there, Derek.
When you start to label something that they have not articulated yet, it's almost like you're living in their brain. And there is no better way to establish to your subordinate that you understand. It doesn't mean that you agree with, doesn't mean that you like their position. Has nothing to do with that at all. It's just that you understand. Now, your inclination is going to be to compile this list, start throwing these accusations audits out, and then wanting to explain them away immediately. Don't do it. You're simply going to say, you know, I know this is going to put you in a bad spot. I know that you feel like we continue to pile on you. You probably think that we're just trying to impose our will. And once you start to lay all of that out, you're not looking to explain why it's not the case. You're throwing it out and letting it sit, pausing a second or two between each one. The goal is to get them to cut you off, to tell you, no, I wasn't thinking that, or no, please, let's stop this. Let's go on. What's this all about? Either way, you're giving them, or they're giving you permission to take the conversation in the direction that you ultimately want it to go, but it sounds like it's their idea to move the conversation forward. So, moral of the story, if you come up with 10, use all 10, because the ones that you don't use are the ones that they're going to kill you with at the end of the conversation, or kill you with when it comes to actually executing. And Isaac, I'm going to